Thank you, council members Gruhl, Weezer, Labange, Perry, Weiss, and Zine. We now have 7 members, and we'll go live on Channel 35 in about 2 minutes. I'd like to ask Ms. Hahn, Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Smith to make their way down to the stage. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council's regularly scheduled meeting for July 26, 2006. We are here in John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m., except for the first Friday of the month when we're out in Van Nuys at Van Nuys City Hall. We invite members of the public down here for public comment and our general public comment, or for items that have been agendized for public comment. We also have facilities at Van Nuys City Hall to testify via remote if that is closer to where you live. We're broadcast live on Channel 35 through the city's cable system and also rebroadcast in the evenings. We also can be caught through our city's webcast at lacity.org, where there's a wealth of information about City Council, City Hall, elected officials, and all the city departments. Lastly, you can call in to Council Phone and listen to the proceedings of the City Council by calling 213-621-CITY. That is also available for all of our City Council committee meetings as well. I want to thank the members of the council that are here in a timely fashion. Council members Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Perry, Rosendahl, Weiss, and Zine. We have 9 members. We are awaiting one more, which will constitute 2/3 or 10 members and a quorum. We have council members Cardenas, Padilla, Parks, and Reyes excused, and Councilmember Wesson arriving late, which means we are just waiting for Councilmember Smith. If he can make his way down, we'll be able to begin the meeting. As soon as he's here, we will. Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Huizar, who I know has a group visiting from his district, to give a quick recognition while waiting for Mr. Smith. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to ask the students from Urban Embrace to please stand up. I understand you're here in council today. Welcome. Urban Embrace. Urban Embrace is a community outreach program of the White Memorial SDA Church, whose purpose is to enhance the lives of the children of East Los Angeles. It has been serving the community for 13 years. Welcome, and feel free to enjoy today and talk to many people so you could learn as much as you can. And thank you for visiting City Hall today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. I also would like colleagues to introduce the Vice Mayor of San Jose, who has joined us as well today. Cindy Chavez is here right next to me. If you please welcome her and give her a hand and welcome her to Council Chambers. Nice to have you here. Again,
Hey.
we are just right now at 9 members. We are waiting Mr. Smith. If we can have Sergeant at Arms check into that, and we will begin our meeting. Thank you again to council members Gruhl, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Perry, Rosendahl, Weiss, and Zine. We're just awaiting Councilmember Smith to begin our meeting. Council members, do you have any announcements for today or for this evening, for the coming week? Any announcements that council members would like to make at this time? Okay, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Padilla, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Weston, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Weiss moves, Mr. Rosendahl seconds. If there's no objection, that'll be unanimously approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Smith moves and Mr. Weezer seconds. If there's no objection, those two will be unanimously approved.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 3 are items noticed for public hearing, and I do believe there's a recommendation to continue item 1 to Friday.
Okay, is there any objection to continuing item 1 till Friday, colleagues? If not, so ordered. That will be continued till Friday, July 28th. Items 2 and 3, we will open and close the public hearing on. Colleagues, anybody wishing to call those special?
And, Mr. President, on item 2, the tabulation has been done, and the results are as follows. For, or yes, was 74.38%, and no was 25.62%.
Okay. Colleagues, anybody wishing to call those special? If not, let's take those two together. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those will be carried over 1 week as ordinances. Next items.
Item 4 is a street lighting district item notice for public hearing, and the recommendation for council action is to continue that to August 16th.
Okay. Colleagues, any objection to continuing that to the 16th of August? If not, so ordered. Next items.
Items 5 through 7 are street vacation or easement items notice for public hearing, and the recommendation for council action is to instruct the city engineer to proceed, and there is a card on item number 7.
Okay. Let's call 7 special for the card, and on the others, let's open the public hearing and continue those. Next items.
Mr. President, you should take a vote on that.
I'll take a vote on. Okay, let's open the roll on those then. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, so ordered. Next items.
Items 8 through 50 are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 8 through 11 are commission appointments. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold the commission appointments on the desk. Colleagues, any specials?
And, Mr. President, there has been a request to continue item 27 for 1 week to August 2nd.
Is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing item 27 to August 2nd? If there is not, so ordered. And any specials, colleagues? Yes, Ms. Hahn.
Item 49, please.
49 for Ms. Hahn. Ms. Gruhl?
35.
35 for Ms. Gruhl. Any other specials, colleagues? Okay, if we can open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
We can send 39 and 40 forthwith if there's no objection, and 49 forthwith as well if there's no objection. Oh, sorry, that's been held. That's been held special. And the ordinances will go over 1 week. Next items, please.
Items 51 through 63 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for
Oh,
consideration.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's reconsider item 50. Okay. Put that before us. Please open the roll on reconsideration of 50. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
We'll call that special for Mr. Rosendahl? Okay. I'm sorry. Next items, please.
That is items 51 through 63.
Okay. Colleagues, we now have 51 through 63 before us. Anybody wishing to call these special? Any specials, colleagues? Okay. Let's,
Mr. President, there is a card or cards on 58 and 62.
okay, 58 and 62, we will call special for cards from the public. Any other specials? Ms. Han?
My colleague Tony Cardenas wants me to call 54 special for an amendment, and he needs 42, I guess, but we've already done that.
To send them forthwith?
Can we go back and do 42?
Okay. We will come back to 42 in a second. 54 we'll call special. Any other specials, colleagues? If not, let's open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That ordinance will go over 1 week, and the others will be approved. Next items, please.
On the continuation agenda, items 64 and 65 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, I do not see cards on either of those, so we will open and close public hearing. Anybody wishing to call 64 or 65 special? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And 64 will go over 1 week. If we can reconsider 42, please. Open the roll on reconsideration, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And we'll call that special, Ms. Han, for Mr. Cardenas as well. Next items?
Mr. President, that would take you back to the items called special. Do you wish to take the commission appointments first?
Yes, let's do that.
Items 8 and 9 are both reappointments to the Commission on Disability. That's Mr. Gordon Overton and Mr. Luis Mata.
Okay, we can ask both of them to please come forward. And I'd like to recognize Mr. Labange, our chair of our Arts, Parks, Health and Aging Committee, to open up our comments. Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, members. We have two distinguished members of the Commission on Disability, and I'd like to ask them give a little brief passion about your background, about what you do to make the voice of those who are disabled heard louder. And members, I just want to remind us all, because of the challenges that our country is facing at other places, we talked in committee this morning about more and more of our service people are surviving the violence of war, but are losing their limbs and creating other challenges, as we know veterans have. So, Commissioner, if you'd like to speak, whichever want to speak first.
We'll defer to you.
Thank you. My name is Luis Mata. I have approximately 59 years of issues dealing with disability since I was 1 year old, post-polio survivor. I certainly have served the city of Los Angeles for the past 20 years, some odd number like that, on particular issues dealing with disability and issues that regarding health care and health that are being confronted by our constituents here in the city. I certainly am very humbled and appreciate the continued support that we're receiving at the Commission. And every year, it seems to me that not only are we being confronted with some particular issues, the same issues that come up regarding transportation, housing, and so forth and so on, but every year there's also some new challenges that are posed to the Commission, and also that bringing in additional resources that are out in the community to assist us in serving the public. Thank you.
Commissioner Mata, thank you very much. Commissioner Overton.
Yes, good morning. I'm Sam Overton, also known as Sam. I've been doing access enforcement work for about 30 years in one fashion or another. I have been with the State Attorney General's office for 30 years, and for about 10 of those, I was enforcing the state architectural barrier laws in California. I've been for 12 years advising the court system and the administrative office of the courts on accommodating people with disabilities and also physical changes in the courts. I chair the Federal U.S. Access Board's committee, or advisory committee on court access. And it was a nice privilege to be able to serve on this commission for my community for the last 3 years. The commission gives an opportunity for the disabled community to come in and voice their complaints, voice their problems, and it allows us, on behalf of the city, to shine a light on problems that otherwise might go unnoticed and unresolved. So it's a good opportunity. We've had good relations with the council and with the mayor, and we hope that all of that continues.
Commissioner Overton, Commissioner Mata, I would thank you for your service to the city of Los Angeles. I know your general manager here, Regina Houston Swain, is here to support. Make sure you bang on our doors so that we make sure it's wide open to hear the needs.
Thank you.
I know we did have a conversation about the challenges of the observatory, and I know that you've reviewed that. We're going to keep an ongoing look at that. But members, these are two dedicated residents of the city of Los Angeles who are serving a very important commission for the people of Los Angeles. I ask for an aye vote. I thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you. Our next council member is Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank both of you for your willingness to serve and your, continuing to serve in the city of Los Angeles. Louis and I have known each other for way too many years to admit to today, but I just want to thank you. You have always been an advocate for many decades and been out there on the front lines talking about the importance of this kind of a commission, the importance of a city of Los Angeles taking a stand and ensuring that we are accessible and are dealing with the issues. And I appreciate Mr. LaBonge's comments about the individuals who will be coming back and many who will be disabled and require the kind of assistance I think the city can provide. So I just wanted to stand up and say thank you to both of you, and a special shout out to Louis, a longtime friend. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to be heard on our two nominees? Again, thank you, gentlemen, for offering to serve, and it's the big moment, so we'll open the roll on the nominations, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. All right. Next commissioners, please. Mr. Clerk.
Items 10 and 11 are the reappointments of Ms. Paula Leftwich and Ms. Julie Chavez Rodriguez to the Rent Adjustment Commission.
All right, if I can ask both of them to please come forward as well. And I know Mr. Wesson, our Chair of Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committees, is excused for city business to come a little bit later in the meeting, so I'll just take the prerogative and thank you both for offering yourselves forward and see if there's anything you'd like to tell the council at this time about your service or about any of the plans you have as commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very happy to be present. My name is Paula Leftwich. I've served on the Rent Adjustment Commission for the last 12 years. I am very humbled to again serve the mayor and the residents of the city of Los Angeles, and as well to serve the landlords and tenants on an equal basis. And again, thank you very much for the consideration of my nomination.
My name is Julie Chavez Rodriguez. I'm currently the programs director at the Cesar Chavez Foundation, and it's an honor for me to be nominated to serve on this commission, and I look forward to learning a tremendous amount from Paula and contributing what I can to ensure that those that live or those that work in this great city also have an opportunity to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Can think of no better person to learn from. 12 years, very impressive service at the Rent Adjustment Commission, so thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else who wishes to be heard on this one? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Congratulations on your reappointment and your appointment.
Thank you
very
so
much. Next items, please.
Item 7 was called special for a card from the public.
Okay. Item 7, I'd like to ask Hugh Robertson to come forward. Yes, Mr. Weiss? I'm sorry, and before you speak, Mr. Robertson, I would like to recognize Mr. Weiss. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Robertson, I was wondering where you were in the crowd. Mr. President, if we could just continue this item for just a few moments. Mr. Robertson, my staff, and some other folks, if we could talk the issue over with you, maybe we can find a resolution.
Okay.
Just hold
all
it
right.
on the
We'll
desk.
hold that on the desk then, if
Thanks.
there's no objection. Next item, please.
Item 35 was called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
I had Ms. Hahn on that one. Ms. Hahn, did you call 35, or was it Ms. Gruhl? Okay. Ms. Gruhl? We have item number 35 before us. Is that one you called special?
Wow, that was quick. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Thank you, and I want to acknowledge this is actually your motion, Mr. Garcetti, that we are talking about, which was asking for an update on the solar incentive program. I know you and I and many of our colleagues are very supportive of this, and so I just rise to support. I don't know if we have anyone here from the department. I see you. If you could just come up for 2 seconds and why they are. Colleagues, I rise to support this much-needed reinstatement of the Department of Water and Power solar incentive programs. With the input that they've had from a wide variety of experts and a large stakeholder group, the department has made some revisions to reaffirm our city's commitment to the environment and meeting the goal of providing 20% of our energy from renewable sources by 2010. We had a presentation before our Energy and Environment Committee this past week that Ms. Perry chairs to talk about public outreach and by changing other city policies to make participation in the program really simple and as straightforward as possible. Some of you signed on to motions I introduced this last week to further promote the use of solar power. One calls on the Department of Building and Safety to develop a requirement that potentially all new residential or even commercial buildings be constructed to pre-wire their roofs for solar ready, and maybe you can just address that briefly in your presentation. And the second motion requests that we get quarterly reports from the department on the progress of the program so that we can kind of track that progress and see if there are ways in which we can work together to ensure we have a seamless delivery of these important rebates. So I want to thank the Department of Water and Power and maybe again ask you to make a quick presentation, but I do want to mention that beginning August 14th, 2006, you may apply by mail for a solar incentive, the full solar incentive program, and new application forms will be available on the website starting August 3rd. So if you could just briefly talk about kind of what you're beginning in August, how someone can access that, and some of the other ideas we're looking at in outreach. And hold my time, Ms. President.
Very good. Well, very good. Thank you. My name is Gary Giroux with the Department of Water and Power, and I'm very happy to announce, as you've announced, that our board yesterday did approve revisions to the solar incentive program and authorize us to begin accepting applications, which we will begin accepting on August 14th. The program, it's clear, is going to have significant pent-up demand. We want to make it clear to the members of the public, to the City Council, and to everyone that we will serve all interested customers. The clear direction from our board was that when the program reopens on August 14th, it should remain open over the long term without further disruption. And so we've implemented a process to continue to monitor the financial obligations under the program and to ensure that all customers who are interested in installing solar will have the ability. I think that's an important point that the public needs to recognize. We know that there are some concerns out there that once we open, we're going to be inundated with hundreds of applications and that there could be further disruption. That's absolutely not true. There won't be further disruption. We will serve all customers. This is going to be a dynamic process. We have committed to reporting to our board on a monthly basis on the program demands and any adjustments that might be necessary. We are more than happy to take those monthly reports and either provide them to you on the same basis or quarterly as you've suggested. With regard to working with Building and Safety, we are very happy and committed to working with Building and Safety to ensure that future buildings, both residences and commercial buildings, could be pre-wired for solar so that to make that process easier. And so we will be setting up those discussions very shortly.
And just two quick questions. One being the fact that how much money do we have in the system excuse me, by DWP to implement this program in the next years?
We have $65 million remaining of our $150 million 10-year commitment.
Can you hold on 1 second? If we could have everyone quiet in the chambers, it's hard to hear.
Please, the conversations on the side, it's very hard for the council members to hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Perry.
Out of the $150 million commitment that our board made to solar, there are $65 million remaining. we recognize that applications that do start coming in September and October of this year aren't likely to be paid until the next fiscal year because it takes 9 to 12 months to install a system. So we're now holding funds in reserve out of the total $65 million pot rather than looking at this fiscal year's $12 million allocation and saying that's all that we have for customers. We have $65 million.
And in the presentation, which was the impetus really for me introducing this motion last week, we talked about how to get, more individuals to have solar panels in their home. And you, I think, indicated that the cost differential between retrofitting a building and having it, ready when it's built. Could you just describe the different costs? At least average.
Yeah. What we've heard, and this still needs further investigation, is that, for instance, at Playa Vista, when that project was developed, that the additional cost was somewhere in the $600 to $800 range per unit. But we're going to need to do additional research to find out exactly what the costs are.
But it is thousands of dollars when you have to retrofit.
When you have to retrofit, it is more complicated. You need to poke holes in the roof and do things that you wouldn't want to do necessarily. So it's much better to do it in advance and get it pre-ready for solar.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Randy Howard, DWP. We will also be talking with some of the developers that have done this and how they've progressed, projects such as Village Green,
right,
that was pre-wired, and there's a number of other developments around the western United States that have been built with that purpose and actually had the solar installed, not just pre-wired, but actually installed the solar to try to gather those costs and ensure that we can bring back to your committee the details of the expense of pre-wiring new facilities.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And this is an exciting program that we had and that we're going to be reinstating. And I'm just excited about kind of the new opportunities and look forward to helping with the marketing campaign to get people on board. I guess the good news would be if we had a rush on it. That's also the bad news, but I'm hoping that people are recognizing as we look in the last several days of the kind of power outages we've had, all the problems that we've had, that having solar and being able to reach 20% by 2010 is really something that's critical. So thank you to the department for taking leadership on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Next speaker is Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. If I can, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for letting me borrow your place here. Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. And I was really excited to see the wiring motion as well. It's something that, as I've talked to people who do solar, it's one of those green building initiatives we need in the city. It's so much more expensive to retrofit a home for this stuff than it is, or our commercial buildings even, than to do it ahead of time. And it makes a lot of good sense. I myself have taken advantage of the DWP program, and I have solar power that produces about 80% of all the power that we consume in my household every single day. And on a day like this, probably not, although we get a lot more power on these hot days too. And I wanted to thank Ms. Gruhl for moving this forward. I think this comes also at a good time because of the California Solar Initiative as well, that you mentioned as well, for the $2.8 billion towards the installation of solar panels on homes and businesses between 2007 and 2017. So the goals here, just to be clear, 100,000 rooftops by the time it ends, more or less?
More or less, that would be a goal.
Okay. And of the 150 million, we have about 65 million left?
That's correct.
Okay.
We've spent $85 million to date.
And I appreciate, too, that you're changing the incentive on the total energy output of the solar panel as well. How much are you seeing changing photovoltaic technology affect the program? And since we've started, how much greater output are we seeing from some of the photovoltaic manufacturers, including, I know there's some stuff that's on the verge of moving forward. Actually, Bob Hertzberg, I know, is working with a system that's being manufactured in Wales right now that instead of using silicon has a different chemical process. I know there's also the films that people are talking about and some new roof tiles and things like that, all of which have solar power. Could you walk through some of those kind of technical changes, if you can hold my time, please?
Sure. Probably the one that is most widely available today is what's called amorphous thin film, and this is a pliable type of product. And one of the key advantages that it has over the more silicon-based crystalline structures is that it doesn't need the direct impact of the sun, so it can take ambient sunlight and produce an energy, so it produces it throughout the day. It doesn't peak quite as high as the crystalline, but it does overall produce more energy. We think that's an exciting technology. We've
In
also
terms of
seen
cost, where is that?
the cost is very competitive. In fact, it's right in the same range. Usually it's integrated because it is a pliable product. It's usually integrated into roofing materials, and so you need to consider the cost of the roof as well. Some vendors will sell you the roof for free if you buy their solar. Other technology we've seen is what's called nanotechnology, and this is one that we've seen some research studies indicate that efficiencies can increase pretty substantially. Currently, we're looking at about a 20% efficiency in solar conversion, and we've heard that that could be a leap to as much as 30 or 35% conversion efficiencies. And then there are there's Fresnel lenses that are used. This is sort of a concentrating solar.
Is that solar heat, or is it actually concentrating
It concentrates light.
The light.
So this is another product that has a real possibility. So we continue to monitor the state
Is that
of...
like a giant magnifying glass, essentially? That
It's very similar to a giant magnifying...
Instead of burning ants, it produces
And
electricity.
if next time you're in Las Vegas, you can see a demonstration of this product, which is out near University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Okay. How close are we to the goal of 100,000 rooftops?
We've served 600 customers so far. So
600
We've got a ways to go.
Okay. So we've got 99,400 to go, if we can do that? Okay. And in terms of the broadcasting this out to the city, that this is available, I know we've had oversubscription, so it hasn't been a problem in the past of people knowing about it. But in terms of making sure that that hits all parts of the city and that it isn't just something that, quote-unquote environmentalists know about, but that everybody in the city knows is available, what are you doing to make sure that gets to everybody?
We're actually in the process now. We should be finalizing our outreach plan, but we will certainly be issuing a press release today. We'll have information on our website. We have a list of some 500 people who have contacted us that we will email notices to, indicating that the program is available, and we'll be placing ads in Sunday newspapers in the home sections to indicate to people who might be interested. We think that's a good location for them, that the program is again reopening, and that we have a commitment to service it over the long term.
We will also be utilizing the neighborhood council process and the email system that has been established with the neighborhood councils to ensure that we communicate through that process as well.
And is there an easy-to-remember website, or is it just you have to go to dwp.com and navigate yourself through it?
You can navigate to the rebates and programs button, and you'll see that if you're a resident, there's a residential section, and if you're a business, there's a business section, and the solar will be on those.
Maybe we could look at getting a domain name isn't too expensive, $50 a year or something, but maybe we could look at Solar LA or Go Solar LA or something where we can just have it go straight to there. Same pages, but if you wouldn't mind looking at that, I think that would be a good place, and we might be able to collect some of the different information on solar technology that's out there. I'd love for us to be a resource, even if people can't use the incentive program. It would be great if we're pushing the use of solar power, and on no days do we feel this more strongly than right now. And on a day like this where peak power is quite expensive to purchase, how does solar compare on the kilowatt basis in terms of cost?
Maybe Randy can...
Over the last few days, power in the Western grid has averaged from $50 a megawatt hour to over $300 a megawatt hour. It just depends on the location, the congestion on the system, and the time of day. So I think a typical rooftop, though, the calculations would be
about $20 to $40 depending on the installation.
So, and that's really important for us to underscore, and I'll end on this. I mean, I know a lot of people say solar is expensive. When we experience, and I don't think we have a cooling earth right now, but when we experience these days that are hot day after day after day, this is competitive to what we are actually purchasing from the DWP out there on the grid, unless we have long-term contract. Is it? Or
No.
Sorry, not with DWP because we have capacity, but what a normal power generator would be purchasing right now.
I don't believe we could compare it to what you're seeing in these extreme conditions in the last few days. Typically, solar would be, a rooftop would be at least twice or 3 times more expensive in the output still.
In average or for peak?
On average.
Okay. And that's, I mean, what I'm trying to underscore is for our peak needs, and certainly throughout California during those peak times, solar becomes competitive. We'll see those costs come down over time, but that's one of the important places where we can actually make a dent on these hottest days, on these days when we have the most power use. Okay?
And where we, as a system, find great value is these are on rooftops within our communities, and they will reduce the loading on the distribution system that has really been pressed the hardest during these peak outages. So that's where you find additional value above and beyond what you find in the supply of the generation that you're purchasing.
Okay. And I'll close with this. The Asia Society colleagues had a dinner a few months ago, and they brought the richest man in China to be honored, along with the governor of one of the provinces of China. The richest man in China, one of the first billionaires ever, guess what kind of company he owns? It's a solar manufacturing company. And it shows you just how far, other countries are. We've been a great center. We've been attracting manufacturing to Los Angeles because of the leadership of DWP. It's a mantle we have to continue to keep, and I think it's something which is not only renewable for Los Angeles, but renewable throughout the state of California, and as those costs come down, we can only do better. So to folks who are watching, go solar. We'll do our best to assist you with as many resources as we have, but on days like this, we know that it's a great investment for any home. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rosendahl, next speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. Indeed, I agree with both my colleagues who have just spoken on this issue. It's critical. Do you have any sense of how Sacramento is doing? Remember, there was $100 million something or another on solar, and it didn't make it anywhere. Where's the state on it?
The state has drafted rules for what it's calling the California Solar Initiative that will be implemented in 2007. That's a $3 billion program statewide. Those rules are not yet final. Concurrently, the legislature is considering legislation SB1 that would expand that program and apply it to municipal utilities as well.
Are you hopeful? Is there anything we can do? $3 billion is a lot of money, and it would be great to really put that out and really make this happen rather than models, demonstrations, but a true commitment to solar. Are we hopeful?
I'm very hopeful that our customers will be able to access the state money as well. Right now, for 2007, only the larger customers over 30 kilowatts, so commercial customers, will be able to access it. Our understanding is that the state will change the rules so that our residential customers can access it in 2008.
DWP used to have a more aggressive strategy on solar. I mean, there were times when it would reduce this and that, and they would put them on. Are you doing an incentive program now?
That's what we're announcing, that on August 14th, we will reopen our incentive program to all customers.
Explain that again, the program.
Customers that seek to install solar photovoltaics on their home or their business can come to us and reserve a rebate against the cost of that system. The rebate will vary between about 25% and 40% of the system cost, depending on how it's designed.
Mm-hmm. And are there certified groups that you work this relationship with, vendors out there that the customer, DWP customer, should be contacting?
We maintain a list of installers that have gone through our training program on our website that customers can contact, and that's at ladwp.com.
Is it possible to put a bill stuffer in one of our bills saying, hey folks, go solar, and then having a very simple outline of what number to call and what they can expect to have happen?
We can look at putting that into the rotation for the bill stuffers. I think that's probably a good idea.
Have you also looked at the notion of talking to neighborhood councils and homeowners groups?
We worked with the neighborhood councils in redesigning the program. We had I think 40 plus comments from both neighborhood councils and other stakeholders. We've been very active with the neighborhood councils on this issue, and I think as Randy indicated, we will send out notice to all neighborhood councils that the program is now opening and for them to get the word out to their constituents.
That's excellent, and obviously it's in everybody's best interest. This warm weather, we think about it even more, obviously, but what a great moment if Southern California, the sunshine capital of America, would truly have the opportunity for solar. So I look forward to seeing the bill stuffer. Or get back to us and let us know when you're going to do that. B, I'd like to know more about your marketing outreach so that the public can see the win-win situation on something like that. And third, of course, over time, we want to be able to announce the fact that people's own energy collection with a solar will be effective. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
As approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. If we can reconsider item 17, we had 2 cards that came in on that, and we did not have our public hearing on that. So we can open the roll on reconsideration, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And we'd like to invite the great Louis McAdams up and Matt Benjamin as well for public comment. Welcome, Louis.
Hi, I'm Louis McAdams from Friends of the Los Angeles River. I wanted to speak briefly on this item. The 1988 was when Mayor Bradley agreed to begin an LA River bike path, called together a blue ribbon panel. It's now 18 years later, 3 mayors later, and the bike path has gone less than 3.5 miles. That's less than 1,000 feet a year. But even that sense of deliberate speed is deceiving. In fact, the truth is the bike path has been stalled. And the reason it's been stalled is basically because one property owner has held out has refused to sell or allow a bike path easement past the old 4S bakery. I really urge you guys to allow the city to go forward with eminent domain so that we can actually get the bike path as it was meant to be, which is to go from the valley into downtown Los Angeles, and it can become a commuter bikeway as the funding was designated for in the beginning. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Louis. Nice to see you here. Matt Benjamin is our next speaker from the Los Angeles Bicycle Coalition.
Hi, I'm Matt Benjamin, the Planning Director at the LA County Bike Coalition. We're here to express support for the completion of Phase 1C of the LA River Bike Path. Many of you, including the mayor, have probably already received letters from our members in support of this project. We know there's great demand for this project because there's lots of bicyclists already using this section of the river on their bicycle, even though there's not a bike path there yet. So there's great public demand for it. It'll provide a lot of much-needed recreational space, as well as providing a way for people to get to work by bicycle into downtown. And it's also part of the larger vision of having a revitalized LA River. So we strongly urge you to support the project. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your advocacy on behalf of the Bikeway. Mr. Labange is our first speaker.
Members, this is extremely important. It's been long overdue. I remember that meeting 18 years ago in then Mayor Bradley's conference room and his Deputy Mayor Mike Gage, and there was discussion on this whole issue. And I'm proud that in our work we've been able to, mainly because it was public lands north of this location, get the bikeway from Fletcher all the way to Victory Boulevard. But we got to get it beyond, and we got to get it downtown, and we should do it now. I believe there was 86 parcels that they had to put together, and staff is here. Does staff have anything they want to report? Just to inform the council, how soon will we be able to move forward? If you could let us know, what's the time frame that we could tell people that we could get the bikeway down to Riverside Drive? I know this is a great priority of yours, Mr. Garcetti, and Mr. Reyes's.
LA Department of Transportation.
Hold on one second. Let's make sure the volume's on your microphone. Try it again.
Michelle Mallory, Los Angeles Department of Transportation, City's Bicycle Coordinator.
John Miner, Deputy City Attorney.
Sam Wong with Bureau of Engineering, Real Estate Section.
We are waiting for the condemnation process to go through. As soon as condemnation happens, we're looking at 3 parcels.
3 parcels, yes.
But once we get through condemnation, the project is ready to go to bid. We have been designed and complete in design for over 1.5 years, and we're waiting for that process to go through. Funding is in place, and we are just waiting for the property easement to take place, and we can move forward in construction. It'll take about 1 year once the project starts.
very important. And I'm so happy to hear that you're prepared once you get through this legal challenge. If you're on the right side, which we hope you are, we could move forward and bid and construct. And does it go underneath the Fletcher Drive Bridge?
It will. At that point in the channel is trapezoidal, and we will be able to go beneath it for a contiguous bikeway.
Right. And what's so important about this part of Los Angeles River, it's open bottom, it's natural, the water table's high, and it's absolutely beautiful all times of the year, except when there's a street trash in there from storm drains. So, Mr. President, I just wanted to stand and support you and Mr. Reyes in this effort to see the continuation of the Los Angeles River Bikeway. And thank staff and thank those, Mr. Lewis McAdams, the first friend of the Los Angeles River, and also for the Bicycle Coalition, the important work of the coalition. Because once we connect this, then we're going to push it out to the San Fernando Valley, all the way to Mr. Zine's district, because at the Bell and Calabasas Creek, where they come together right by the football field for Canoga Park, that's where the river starts, and we've got to push the bikeway out there.
Thank you, Mr. Labange.
And I add the good work of Ms. Gruel on her part of the bikeway out in Studio City. I was out there a couple Sundays ago. Thank you.
Looks beautiful. Mr. Rosendahl.
Very nice.
Yeah, just a quick comment to obviously endorse this. It's critical that we get the bike paths in place. People love it. Would you give me a sense of the update of it? Because when the constituents were speaking, they said very little has been done since Tom Bradley. What's the status of the overall path? How much is done? How much do we need to do? And what do we need to do as a council to give you the resources to move forward?
We currently have, Lewis probably has better information, but we currently have about 6 miles of bike path in. This will add another 2 miles to complete the Phase 1 segment. As Councilmember Labange mentioned, we were on public property before that allowed us to go in and build, and the project was funded.
Right.
It certainly has, the project has great public support, and we have good funding support on the project. We actually have funding for the next segment, which will include a link to the Riverside Drive Bridge, which is going into construction next year, and the path will extend through the Riverside Drive Bridge onto the other side of the river, and we are looking at a bike lane extension through that corridor, which is also fully funded, and we're working with Councilmember Reyes' office on that project, which will connect to Spring Street to bring us further into downtown. At that point, we're going to start looking west into the valley.
And so far, numbers of miles. You have what?
We have 6 complete.
6 complete.
I wish we had a lot more. This will add 2 more to the package to complete Phase 1.
And then Phase 2, how many miles are in Phase 2?
Quite honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go look at it.
Okay, how many miles altogether once you get the whole river done?
About 50.
About 50.
Right.
And what's your sense of a timetable to get all 50 miles done?
We receive funding for LA River and all bike path projects throughout the city through MTA's call for projects. Generally, MTA allocates $10 million for 88 cities over 2 years. It's a very small pocket of money that's available, so we have to build this in small segments as we go along. We certainly encourage MTA and encourage the MTA board to increase the funding that's available to bicycles through the MTA call for projects. So we generally plan and design in different phases. That's why this project has been designed and is waiting for construction. It could take, at the current funding levels, as many as 10 to 15 years for us to complete the project. If the project is allocated line item federal transportation funding dollars, which would give us a significant amount of money, we could complete the project in much quicker fashion.
Can you come back to us with a strategy where we could be helpful to do that? I don't want to wait 10, 15 years to do just 50 miles of bike paths. I mean, we can do that in 2 or 3 years and let our people actually ride the bikes along the river.
We can certainly do that. It would take a congressional line item in the next transportation budget, and that's certainly something we can talk to. We can meet with your office, or we can meet with members of the LA River Task Force to talk specifically about it. But it is a way to look at the federal transportation funding process.
I would love to do that. My office would love to do that. I'm sure the River Committee, and Ed Reyes would love to do that. If we need to get Senator Feinstein or Boxer or some of the members of the House to work on that, we'd be more than happy to do it. It would be my goal to see us not take 10, 15, 20 years to finish 50 miles, but set a timetable over the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years where we'll be totally complete, and whatever resources we need or leadership we need need to give you, I want to give you. To me, bike paths are as critical as mass transit lanes, as critical as bus-only lanes, as critical as the expo to the beach, and all these other things we really care about. But for a person to get on a bike and ride for 50 miles would be a very important goal for us as well.
Well, that's certainly music to my ears. For the last 15 years I've spent working on this. I believe Senator Boxer has introduced or is introducing legislation relative to the river. I don't know if bike paths are included, but it's, and I don't know the details, but it may be something we want to look
I believe
into.
we're at $18 million right now is what's moving forward in Congress that Senator Boxer has been working with Mr. Reyes on. So 18 million, and we'll look at the language to see if
That's
it includes
great. That would help, wouldn't it? Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Labange.
Just thank you for your support, because you're a king of the bikeways out on the Pacific Coast there, which is so important. But the challenge they had is 86 different parcels had, and I think what happened was, because there was a fella, Red Mead, this little folklore, God rest his soul, he worked for the county Weights and Measures. As a gag, he went over and bought a piece of the LA River. You know, they were just these easements. So it was a tough thing to unstar, like spaghetti. Now they got it straight with a few pieces, and we're going to get it going. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Labange. As one of the bike riders who rides that choppy bike, you got to go, that choppy pathway. It'll be greatly appreciated when we can move forward on this. So with that, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved, and it will move forward. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments today. Next item, please.
Item 42 was called special by Councilmember Hahn for Councilmember Cardenas.
Ms. Hahn?
We passed around a technical amendment, so if we could just vote on that.
Okay. It's been circulated. Anybody else wishing to be
No? 42. Oh,
on 42?
The amendment was actually for 54.
no, I don't
Okay.
know. What's 42?
All right, why don't we hold 42 on the desk for a moment? Let's take up 54 as long as you mentioned it. And if that's been corrected, let's...
And the amendment has been circulated to all members.
Okay. Let's open the roll on item 54, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
No, that's 40, 42.
11 ayes.
That is
What's 42?
approved. Okay.
I know. What do you mean, let go?
Why don't we go to item 49
Okay,
next?
I've been told that we can let 42.
42, we can
move
vote on?
ahead.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the roll on 42 then. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
We just did 49.
11
I
ayes.
know.
Okay, that is approved. Next item, please.
Item 49 was called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Okay, Ms. Hahn.
This
we
one I
have-
know.
Item 49, all right. It's all yours.
I was wondering if we had some staff from LAWA to come up to the table. Colleagues, I know this is a receive and file, and we heard it in Commerce, but I think this is of interest to us, and I think it's of interest to Angelenos that, we're going to be seeing some construction going on at LAX. First time in a long time. And we have several, what I consider very high-profile projects, which I think will finally modernize LAX and sort of bring it in to the current century and make it certainly competitive with other international airports. So I thought you might just give us a brief summary on, there's 5 projects that I think are of note, and some of the other colleagues might have some other ones they'd like to talk about, but I'd like to know what's going on with our Tom Bradley International Airport remodeling. You might also touch on the creation of gates that will accommodate the giant Airbus A380s. I'd like you to talk about our inline baggage program, which we've all heard about and feel like that's also going to really modernize things at the airport. The South Runway project, which is now happening, and then I'd like to know the status of the new LAX police headquarters that's also a part of this capital improvement program. So if you could just kind of give us a summary of all those projects and let Angelenos know everywhere that we are going to be seeing some major construction, maybe some inconvenience, but this is all part of the plan to finally modernize LAX Airport.
Thank you. Ryan Yakubik from Los
You can hold my
Angeles
time.
World Airports. Now, just as a caveat, I am the finance person more than the engineering person, but I can give you a good overview of each of these projects. We'll start with the South Runway, which is currently about to
Can you talk a
begin.
little louder?
Excuse me. We'll start with the South Runway that is currently about to begin construction, I believe sometime within the next couple of weeks. This is to widen and expand the runway, to lessen incursions, as well as accommodate some of the new larger aircrafts that will be landing at the airport in the future. The inline baggage screening program, as I'm sure many of you have stood in lines at the airport where you have to haul your bag from the check-in area to a great big X-ray machine, where you probably remember you used to just give them your bag and it went off onto the conveyor belt and you never saw it until you picked it up in the next city. We're hoping to go back to that with the inline baggage screening system. It will be building into the conveyor belt system the TSA recommended screening equipment, so we no longer have to do that. And we expect that will also help the airport with some of the lines you've been seeing out in front. The third large project, the Tom Bradley International renovation, Bradley has not been really renovated in about 20 years. This is to modernize that terminal. It is the gateway to LA for all international passengers, and this is expected to be a very large renovation, including things like the inline baggage, updating the security, upgrading the technology, and making it a more passenger-friendly facility. As part of that program, there will be the provision for adding the gates to accommodate the new A380.
How many?
There are currently planned two gates, both on the outer gates on each side of the current terminal. The first gate is nearing completion as we speak, sometime within the next couple of months, well in advance of the A380 visiting us. I'm sure you've heard of their delays, but we are still on track.
Say that again out loud, because they've been pressuring us and claiming they were all going to go to San Francisco if we didn't get our act together and build these gates. Say that one more time about the completion date.
Our first gate to accommodate the A380 is expected to be completed within the next couple of months and will be ready well in advance of the A380 visiting us here in Los Angeles.
And when will they be coming?
We currently expect them sometime next year.
Okay.
The final project for the new police station at LAX, I don't have a lot of information on. I know that's still in a planning stage, and I would be happy to get back with you with more information on that.
I know you're a finance guy, but can you touch on any security-related projects that are part of this capital improvement program? There's been a lot of talk about perimeter security. Are you aware of any improvement project that's going to deal with that?
Certainly, we have been improving the outer fence, which is a major security issue or not an issue for the airport, but it's a major security project for the airport. We're improving the fence line all around the airport. That is, I believe, midway through construction, heading towards completion. There are also certain IT security projects involved, security systems and closed-circuit television. These will be a big help for the airport and improving our security.
Okay, here's a question that it is in your purview. Do you think do we have to borrow money for this capital improvement project for this fiscal year?
We don't expect to utilize debt financing in fiscal year 2007. However, if the need arises, we have both the flexibility and capacity through our commercial paper program to fund any unexpected expenses.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what are we doing in terms of accommodating our passengers that come through LAX during this pretty massive construction projects?
Well, these are all part of the plan for these constructions. We certainly can't go about our construction and have passengers walking through as the workers are doing what they're doing. So part of these projects does incorporate workarounds for the passengers who are going to be passing through the airports.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And again, I know it's just a receive and file, and we heard this in Commerce, but I think it's been so long since we've done anything at LAX to modernize it that this was worthy of kind of airing a little bit in public so people could know. And these are all major projects that we'll be undertaking at LAX, and I'm glad to know we're on time. Sounds like we're on budget, and we look forward to the completion of these projects, which will get LAX not only modernized, but hopefully much more secure as a result of these projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Our next speaker is Mr. Labange, to be followed by Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Labange. Okay. All right. Mr. Rosendahl will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And thank you, Madam Chair, for thorough questions, and you kind of hit all the right buttons. Question number one, how much money are we spending on this?
On
Capital improvements in Phase 1.
the current capital improvement program is slated at about $1.4 billion.
And the $1.4 billion includes what?
This includes these three major projects that we spoke about, as well as certain noise mitigation programs for residential soundproofing and land acquisition.
Where are we on the central car rental spot?
I believe we are continuing along the path for that. We are in the process of identifying the site, and we'll be moving forward from that, but I do know it is a priority for us.
Will you vet that in public committee meetings in the neighborhood with the RSAC and the other groups that have taken interest in this?
I suspect as part of the master plan restudy, it will go through the entire process.
Where are you with the people mover? And what do you mean by people mover as you define it now that we've approved this whole infrastructure development?
Again, with the people mover being part of the master plan restudy, until the results of that come out, I don't have a good answer for you on
Do
that.
you have any sense of what timetable that might be?
For the restudy process or for the people mover?
People mover.
For the people mover, I do not have a good time frame. I don't expect it within the next couple of years.
You don't?
Again, this is something that will be part of the master plan restudy, so without knowing what comes out of that.
Do you have any sense about the motion I put forward to put the Green Line into LAX? It's a mile and a half away. It's been sitting there for a long time of how to do that, and any discussions at all going on in your infrastructure discussions of capital dollars?
Excuse me, until we are briefed on what the master plan restudy produces, our side of financing it, we kind of remain on the sidelines until we get the better sense of what these projects are and what they're going to cost in the future.
Any sense about Terminal 3, about getting that going again? It's a mess.
I believe they have recently completed some near-term upgrades on the terminal to make it a little more passenger-friendly. In terms of future plans, I don't have an answer for you.
Anecdotally, maybe you might look into this. When we landed from Japan the other day, United, in Terminal 6, there was no bags there, no notice where the bags are. We had to walk down, as did everybody from the plane, to 7 to a carousel. Can we make United a little bit more customer-friendly?
I'm sure that would be our goal, and I will certainly take that back to the airport with me.
The incursion issues, have there been 2 most recently?
I don't know the number of incursions recently, but I do know that the South Runway program is part of its results will be to reduce those.
The people in Westchester want to know, with the closing of the South Runway and moving it 55 feet, which we all agree to, will it impact them at all since you're using the northern runways more?
Again, that's something probably a little outside of my purview. I would be happy to get back with you on an answer to that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Labange is our next speaker.
Very much, Mr. President, Mr. Rosendahl, Ms. Hahn, very good questions. I know you're in charge of finances out there, but I think it's real important what we all experienced yesterday with the Department of Water and Power and getting a discussion on the upgrade of their facilities. We need to have that more discussion. It's good to hear the discussion that the Department of Airports is. The only thing I believe in is that Green Line should go into the airport. That's a big one. You know, I mean, I think everybody in this room believes the Green Line should go in the airport. And I think you got to figure that out to get the transit connected in there. But with this in mind, keep it safe, make it efficient, and as Ms. Hahn said, make it a facility that is on par with all airports that would make the experience for the traveling public safe, but also warm and welcoming in this new era that we're living in. Do you have any questions of me?
No, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you that. Thank you, Mr. President.
What year did you graduate from John Marshall High School?
71.
71. That was a good year. You guys were born. All right. The item is before us. We can open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That item is approved. If we can
Thank you very much. Say hi to Lydia.
go item number 7 right now. We had the card before us, but I believe the gentleman is left. Is he here for item number 7? No? Let's open the roll on item 7 then. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 50 was called special by Councilmember Rosendahl, and an amending motion has been circulated.
Okay. Mr. Rosendahl, did we want to hear anything more on this item? If not, the amendment has been circulated. So hold on one second. Mr. Rosendahl? Mr. Rosendahl? Did you want to be heard on the item? Number 50, the amendment's been circulated on 50. Do you want to just vote on it, or do you want to be heard on it? Okay. So we're good to...
Yeah, what I'd like to do is send it back to committee, to the ad hoc gang committee for consideration, get it calendarized so we can bring it back to the council.
Okay. I think there was a motion that was circulated on this. Mr. Clerk, what was the motion?
Well, it's actually Mr. Rosendall's amending motion that was circulated on item 50.
Okay. Does the amendment send it back to committee?
Yes, it does. Well, I'm suggesting it right now. The amendment says that it would identify the money. It would be something I would like very much for the Venice Safe Passage Program for Venice High School, but the chair of the committee wants it to be considered by the committee, the ad hoc committee on gangs first, which of course I'll support, and then we'll take it from there back to council.
Okay, so formally, do you want to withdraw the amendment then, or do you want to... Mr. Clerk, how would we add the amendment and send it back to committee?
You can send the amendment back with the original reports to committee.
All right. And do we need to vote on that, or just...
It could be unanimous.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll send it back with the amendment to committee. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
Good, thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
Thanks. Item 58 was called special for a card from the public.
Okay. Sorry, can we go to the special agenda real quick? I know we have about 15 cards there. If we can call the roll on this special meeting, please.
Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Padilla, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First items, please.
Item 1 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Okay. Anybody wishing to call item 1 from the special meeting special? If not, let's open the roll on 1. Let's close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Next items.
Items 2 through 6 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, and there is an amending motion on item number 3.
Okay. And that's been circulated?
It has.
Okay. Let's hold 2 and 3. We have cards on 2, and let's hold 3 as well. I think we're expected to have 13 members shortly. And then we have items 4, 5, and 6. Colleagues, anybody wishing to call any of those special? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can go to the public cards for item number 2 now. And I'd like to ask Carrie Gatlin to come forward first, and then Michelle Venkian, and Roy Sanfilippo. Those will be our first 3 speakers. Welcome. Good morning. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Can we get the it's on? Okay, go ahead again. I'm sorry, we don't have any sound on it. Oh, can you get a little closer to the microphone there?
Is it me?
There you go.
Shall I lean?
There we go. Thank you.
Well, it's been a long time since I've addressed the council, so thank you for the opportunity today. Usually don't feel the need because Jan Perry is such a fantastic representative for us, but I wanted to speak on the issue today. I represent the Union Rescue Mission and their foundation, and this issue of affordable housing in Los Angeles is we're in a serious crisis, and I know I don't have to tell anybody here that, but a sufficient supply of permanent supportive housing for the guests we serve has been desperately lacking for many years. Obviously, it's going to take us a long time to catch up to some sister cities that are already way ahead of us, and I realize that the council is aware of that. we desperately need this continuum for those clients that we serve. And we also feel as an organization that it's our responsibility to provide that permanent housing in the continuum that we provide, especially for the chronically homeless. But it's a lack of resources for us. We struggle daily to find the resources to provide emergency and then transitional housing. And permanent supportive housing is a very expensive endeavor for us. But we as an organization have made it our responsibility. We've taken the charge. We intend to regionalize our services over the coming years. We have a very aggressive strategic plan, and we intend to build a minimum of 132 affordable housing units within the next 2.5 years for those coming out of our programs. But we'd really like to see the council support this and get behind it wholeheartedly, because this is a really good way for us to catch up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Michelle Grankin? Michelle here? Going once. Los Angeles Business Council? Once, twice. Roy Sanfilippo? Oh, Michelle, why don't you come forward? And then we'll hear from you, Roy, right after that.
I apologize, I didn't hear my name being called. I am here on behalf of the LABC again, and gleefully joining a broad and multifaceted coalition to support the $1 billion housing bond initiative that Council is considering and will hopefully implement for the November ballot. We're just here to express our support, and we look forward to working with those that are going to hopefully be allocated some money if this bond does pass in November. As a lack of workforce housing is impacting our state of communities, companies are not willing to locate and or expand to LA, nor able to attract or retain employees due to this deficiency. And so as a result, we do support the housing bond, and hopefully it will be implemented today or next week, perhaps.
Thank you very much. Roy Sanfilippo is our next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Roy Sanfilippo. I'm a member of the Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 36, and I'm speaking in support of this proposal. There's an affordable housing crisis in the city of LA, and as a worker, as a resident of the city of LA, and as a renter in the city of Los Angeles, I think it's important that the people who live and work and who built this city can afford to live here. And I ask the council to support this proposal so that the voters in November have a chance to vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Damon Gonzalez, and then Greg Spiegel. Welcome.
Good morning, Council. My name is Damon Gonzalez. I, too, am with Painters and Allied Trades, Corporate Relations. I'm so happy to see this come before you today, as I don't need to say it's very much needed. I just want to say amen. Let's pass this, move this forward to the ballot on November, and let's get this approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greg Spiegel, and then Reverend Samuel Chu.
Good morning. I'm a member of 1LA, a broad-based coalition of churches, schools, and nonprofits, and we're here to strongly support the city housing bond, mostly because of the content addresses where there's the greatest need. Low-income working people in Los Angeles, many of whom are our members, but it also is going to support all Angelenos because it's going to build safer families, safer communities, and a more stable workforce. But we look forward to the challenging work ahead of getting us passed in November. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker is Reverend Samuel Chu. After that is Lisa Payne.
Good morning. I know I spoke here 2 weeks ago and I spoke here yesterday. I'm Samuel Chu. I'm the pastor at Emmanuel Presbyterian Church and also the chair of 1LA. Just between yesterday, when I spoke here yesterday morning, and today, I met with 5 families who lives in my neighborhood, goes to my church, who are going to be moving out of the building in this neighborhood possibly because of the rising cost of rent in the building. I met with them yesterday. They are not only leaders in their families, in the community, but they're leaders in the church. They're going to be uprooted because of this crisis that we definitely essentially needs to start to address. And this bond is one of the most essential first steps that we must take as a city to make sure that the leaders of our community, of our institutions, who are in our neighborhood, who are raising their kids and who has been around for 10 years, 20 years, can continue to contribute to this city and to the growth of our community here in Los Angeles. That's why 1LA is supporting this bond initiative, and that we will work to turn out the vote to make this a success and make affordable housing a reality in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Lisa Payne is our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Lisa Payne. I'm with the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing. SCAMP wholeheartedly supports the proposed ordinance to put a bond on the ballot to build affordable housing. Obviously, as we've heard, and I know you've heard the past few days, there's a huge housing crisis in Los Angeles. An LA household needs to make over $27 an hour or $56,000 a year in order to afford the average two-bedroom, one-bath apartment in LA. For our members, land and construction costs are going up dramatically. And of course, at the same time, federal housing funds are being cut, which makes the construction of affordable housing ever more difficult. So we really think it's foresightful of the city to establish a funding stream for affordable housing to ensure that there will be steady production in the next 10 years. But obviously, to address this almost overwhelming housing crisis, we will need to look at many different tools, but this is a great first step. And I would like to commend both Garcetti's staff and the campaign staff for the Herculean task that they've done to bring many diverse interests together to support a very good bond package. And we will work hard to make sure this passes in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Holly Schroeder is our next speaker, and then Alejandro Martinez.
Thank you. I'm Holly Schroeder. I'm with the Building Industry Association of LA and Ventura, and we are here also to speak in support of this ballot measure bond. Affordable housing, as you heard from all the speakers before me, is clearly an issue that I know you hear a lot about from your constituents as well. It affects all segments of our communities. It affects families as people move away to try to find more affordable housing. It affects the people who want to get services. It affects our businesses who can't find workers. It affects those workers who have to drive long distances. We support this bond because, as you heard from the speakers before me, we have a broad coalition of folks who have come together to put this recommendation, to ask for this recommendation to be pursued by the council, and have put this forward. It's not a divisive approach. It's a very collaborative approach that's brought this coalition together. This is a societal issue. It affects all segments of society, and we urge you to place this on the ballot, have the members of our community have a chance to vote in favor of this, and we plan to work for its passage. Thank you for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you. Alejandro Martinez, and then Sister Diane Donahue.
Good morning. My name is Alejandro Martinez. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development at East LA Community Corporation, and we're here to support this proposed bond wholeheartedly. We are absolutely excited about this possibility. I remember being here a couple weeks ago when Councilperson Ed Reyes said that this is just one additional tool that we'll have in our toolbox. Mercedes Marquez commented that if this passes, this will generate approximately 1,000 additional units, 1,000 additional units every year for the next 10 years. That's absolutely incredible, and we're absolutely in support of this. Again, my name is Alejandro Martinez, and I'm here with East LA Community Corporation. You have a good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. Our last speaker for this is Sister Diane Donahue.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm Sister Diane Donahue, Esperanza Community Housing. And as you can see, this is a mighty coalition, and it's an incredibly important issue. I just want to cut to the chase and speak to the issue of stabilizing neighborhoods with mixed income housing. We have, the LA Times did the article on Sunday. Nancy Cleveland talked about the polarizing of rich and poor communities. We are the most segregated community in Southern California. That's because there's no middle class. It's slowly eroding. In our own area, at Esperanza, Census Tract 9007. In the last 4 years, we've had a 250% increase on land value. That is what's driving people out. You probably saw where Orthopedic Hospital is sold, $70 million, 70.5, 800 luxury condos. That's across the street from Esperanza Housing. Our neighborhood is absolutely in peril as it relates to families being able to afford reasonable rents. So I urge you to give great consideration to this. It absolutely makes the difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Diane. That closes public comment on that. We are awaiting a 12th member who is en route for both of those ordinances, so we will return back to the regular meeting, and if we can take general public comment this time. Our first, yeah.
So that other items, if a 12th member comes, could we
Yes, we can
reconsider those
reconsider,
other ones?
absolutely. We'll
Is that
reconsider
on-
all the
yeah,
ordinances.
Thank you.
See if those can go. Candido Maris is our first speaker. Mr. Maris?
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I ended my hunger strike. It ended because they hauled me off in an ambulance, and I think I thought it was time for me to end that. But again, my issue was with DWP and the fraud and corruption that's taking place there. But today's headlines, DWP admits its system is a lemon. Mr. President, I'm asking you and the mayor and this council to intervene. The department is in crisis, and I feel it's time for Mr. Deaton to step down. He served this city wonderfully for 40 years, and I think it's time for him to step down. I think there's a need for change in upper management. It's gone on long enough. Each and every one of your constituents is suffering because of this. Last year, I told them because they were having a problem with their own air conditioning system there in the DWP building, that they needed to check into that, and nothing was done. So again, I am asking that this department, that this council and the mayor look into that. They're already looking at the money that's transferred from DWP for here to the general fund. We need that money. It's utilized for the right reasons. If they take a look at their purchasing, which is over $1 billion, if they did an audit, I guarantee you we would see savings of at least $50 million. So I am asking that this council ask the commissioners to do an audit of the purchasing at DWP. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Bruce Darian.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Bruce Darian. I'm here again to talk about the corruption in the contracting in Malibu Pier. It involves federal, state, city, and county governments. In relation to the City of Los Angeles, you stated before that there was $4 billion of construction money on the table in current projects. The United States Department of Justice years ago found that at least 10% of the budget, of the entire federal budget, is lost to fraud. So simple mathematics means that we have $400 million being lost to fraud in construction projects in the City of Los Angeles. My question to you is, I've come to you over the Malibu Pier, which you, in so many words, some of the council members have said has nothing to do with the city. Well, let's talk about the $400 million that's being lost to fraud, and how is that integrated with the politicians that are running this city, including the council members that are sitting before me right now. And how does that relate to public business? The people of Los Angeles are counting on the members of the council and the mayor to safeguard the funds that are being expended on public works projects, such as the construction at the LAX airport. If there is not a mechanism of rooting out fraud in public contracting, as I'm not aware of what the city does to safeguard the funds regarding public contracting fraud, where is this money going, and what's it going to be done to stop it? Virtually, the pier is a complete fiasco of accounting fraud and contracting fraud, and I can see through the years that it's been a cover-up. The lid is coming off of it, and it'll be interesting to see in the months ahead how this will be resolved. Thank you very much.
I know we can only really respond with a short amount, but the Bureau of Contract Administration has dozens of folks that oversee all of our public works contracts, and if you want to go down the Bureau of Public Works, they're just on the other end of this floor, and they can let you know the processes that we have in the city of Los Angeles, because it's quite extensive. Thank you. Sylvia Hawkins is our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Hawkins. The Department of Water and Power must be informed that these people have no invoice and are living free of any charges of any bills. Our electricity is not just going out because of heat or washing machines, but because of electric people bodies that is controlled inside of their cars to the buildings and people that are walking among us. Remember, these are dumb people that without the cars or dishboard or dispatch of direction or connection are lost as they drive out. They will not be able to know their direction. Ain't no worker in any building or operators in asking for information for location to location from state to state. These are only illegal drivers that need only more electricity to survive in their cars. These are not, again, human beings, but the cell of research. Thank you very much. My name is Sylvia Hawkins.
Thank you. Next card is ZD, Zuma Dog. Going once, going twice. Not here. Carol Schatz is our next speaker.
Good morning, council members. This is the first time in 16 years I've addressed you as a private citizen and a homeowner about an issue that I think is very important, and I really hope that you will take some action with regard to it. I'm a resident of Benedict Canyon, and I had a terrifying day yesterday. And as Councilmember Weiss knows, and Councilmember Fewer before him, Chief Bamatri, I have called the city for years concerned about the fact that brush is not cleared in a timely manner in the canyon, along thoroughfares, and we saw the result of that yesterday, and we were lucky, but we may not be as lucky again. And I am asking, there are things that the city can do. If the ordinance gives private property owners and others too much time to clear, leaving the brush until late July and August, then the ordinance needs to be changed so that the brush is cleared by July 1, especially in a season like this. When I've called, let me tell you the excuses I've been given. One excuse was that there was a dispute between the firefighters union and the department because they didn't want contract non-union personnel to clear the brush. I couldn't believe that, okay? And then I heard that some private homeowners had sued the city about the enforcement of the brush ordinance. I can assure you that everyone living in Benedict Canyon can afford to clear the brush in Benedict Canyon, probably all over the city. So that doesn't make any sense to me either. I am asking you, please, if it means putting together a task force of the council members who reside in the hillside areas. This is dangerous, and it has not been dealt with, and we could see that we almost had a conflagration yesterday.
Thank you, Ms. Schatz.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Michael Hunt.
Yes, Mr. Eric Garcetti, I was here yesterday, and I was watching the public forum, and you guys put my guy Matt Dowd out for expression, and you're a Democrat, and I...
Will you pause the timer for 1 second? Mr. City Attorney, will you just read the policy for our, I have a copy of it here if you don't, on our public comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. During a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council, there is a need for civility and expedition in the carrying out of public business. When addressing the City Council, please direct your remarks to the Council as a whole and refrain from personal, impertinent, abusive, or profane remarks.
And
Thank you.
okay.
Please continue.
And I use the word nigger all the time, and I would ask you your definition of that because it's been
Mr.
Cut
Mr.
it
Wesson.
off. They cannot come here and disrupt the council.
Absolutely.
They cannot do that.
You consider yourself warned, please, and please.
I just wanted to know your definition.
You know that we have stated many times you cannot ask direct questions because it's not been agendized.
Not even to you?
You cannot act. We are under California state law. We are unable to respond to something that has not been agendized. I'll give you the logic to that because it sounds maybe to some of our viewers like something strange.
But
everybody gets an equal chance to come to City Hall on any item that affects our business. If we respond to one person and it hasn't been agendized, it cuts off 3 million people, 3.9 million people for not being agendized. So we cannot respond, but we will listen and consider yourself warned on the language that you're using today. Thank you.
But it's not considered profanity, is it? The word. I mean,
please continue.
I'm trying to.
This is not a dialogue. Please continue.
Okay, well, here again, it's very seldom that you see a Democrat, trying to tailor free speech. And I really get annoyed by what happened yesterday because it was total expression of something that he believed in and something that is going on in the city government. And yet we asked you guys to help us. But yet, you guys have not did anything or
I will just say this. The use of the F word is not protected speech.
The N-word.
And that's what was said yesterday. Okay?
Right, but I'm talking about the N-word. And every time I try and get you guys to debate on that, you guys are never.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd.
Hello, my name's Matt Dowd. Since the Department of Parks and Rec yanked my permit, I've made Channel 35, LA City View, my preferred medium of expression now. I want to give a hooty-hoo to Steve Hyman from the Los Angeles Times, because he's right on top of everything. He got pictures of Dennis Zine and President Garcetti flipping pizzas up in the valley when, you should be at some kind of peace process for the Middle East and, get onto something that your people up there, the sister city, they probably want you to be there, not in some pizza parlor. Greg Smith, I'm sorry, you got $40 million to build another elephant prison when the human prison system's in trouble, but there's $40 million for an elephant prison at LA Zoo. And if your vote is procedural, according to the LA Times, we might as well just train monkeys to sit and push these buttons. If you've got a problem with an ordinance, vote no. Vote no. That's what you're here for. I want to yield the last few seconds to Zuma Dog since you've got a card in for him.
We need people to be here in person, so that will close our public comment. We have one more speaker. Samuel Sanchez is our next speaker. Sir, I'm sorry, he has to be here in person or in our Van Nuys facility. Mr. Sanchez? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Sanchez.
I'd like to address this council, and I'll bite my tongue because I have a lot of anger inside, not directly at you, but at the system that keeps a class system in place. I know of the work that all of you do, Mr. Wesson, for your regular meetings with your neighborhood council people. Garcetti, I would be here all day if I talked about the environmental things you've done for the people. Reyes as well, for all the green advocacy he's done along the LA River. LaBonge even has advocated for all sorts of environmental issues. The Huizar, when he was on the LAUSD, was working to put green spaces in schools and alternative fuel buses. I'd be here all day if I talked about all the different things, including my old council person, Ms. Hahn. I love San Pedro. But you know what? you turn a blind eye when it's not economically viable for you to stand up for the environment. And that's unfortunate. Even Mr. Parks, who's not here, has called, the LA Harbor a cesspool of environmental concern. But when you have things that are positive and uplifting to the environment, such as the South Central Farm, you turn a blind eye, you throw up your hands, you say it's in the courts, it's not our decision. But when you guys were council people several years ago and you signed it over, you didn't seem to give a damn about it then. You cannot turn a blind eye just because it's a lower class. You cannot ignore environmental concerns or positive aspects of the environment just because it's in a lower income district. Ms. Perry, I'm speechless. I don't even know what the verdict is right now, but there's a judge 2 blocks away right now determining the illegality of Rocky Delgadillo's sale and the...
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Thank you for your comment. This closes public comment. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. That closes our public comment for today. If we can move to suspend the rules on item 17, since we've reconsidered it once, we need to suspend the rules in order to reconsider it a second time now that we have 12 members and it's an ordinance. So if we can open the roll on suspension of the rules, close the roll, and tabulate the vote. Sorry, we'll give you a second there to type it in. Okay. Just to suspend the rules, please tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now, if we can take up all the ordinances on the regular agenda, if we can reconsider those, let's open the roll on reconsideration of those ordinances. That, I believe, Mr. Clerk, if you can help me out here, this is items 2, 3, 12 through 17, 51, and 64.
You got it.
Okay. And if we can, that's 51 and then 64. Okay, if we can open the roll on those, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can go to the special meeting again.
Notify those departments on those items that
Yep.
they want.
We'll make
thank
sure.
you.
And on the special agenda, if we can take up, it's just items 2 and 3, is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, 2 and 3 are still on the desk.
Okay. If we can open the roll on those, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you, and 2 and 3 forthwith, please, for those ballot measures, and congratulations to everybody who's here on those as well. If we can return to the regular agenda, do we have any other items before us?
Yes, Mr. President. Item 58, there was a card from the public.
Okay. It'll be time for item 58. Matt Dowd. Mr. Dowd here. Going once, going twice. Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Any other items?
Item 62 was called special for a card from the public.
Which, 65?
62.
62. Matt Dowd. Again, I believe Mr. Dowd has left, so we will open and close that public hearing. And if we can open the roll on the item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
We have a special one, too?
Yes, Mr. President, there is a special one.
Mr. City
and
Attorney on the findings?
We'll go forthwith with 62 and 63.
Sure. If there's no objection, we'll go forthwith on 62 and 63.
And I believe 64 also.
And 64 as well. Thank you. On the findings for special one, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the posting of today's agenda, funding has been identified to pay domestic violence shelter operator contractors who will cease operating this Friday if payments are not made. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Okay, anybody wishing to be heard on the findings? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is before us, and Mr. Wesson.
Just, Mr. President and members, I urge support on this item because we do have agencies that will close down unless we switch around the way that we're going to fund them. So I ask for an aye vote.
Okay, thank you for your advocacy on the domestic violence system we have. We can open the roll on this, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
Forthwith.
12 ayes.
We'll send that forthwith if there's no objection. Next order of business.
Mr. President, for clarification on item 65, that was asserting jurisdiction over a public, Board of Public
yes.
Works action.
I'm sorry, we wanted to reconsider 65. We already referred it to committee, but okay. Why don't we hold that on the desk for a second? Okay. All right. So 65, that will be referred to both public safety and public works. There's no objection on that. Okay. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused to leave at 11:30 on Friday, August 4th, and Friday, September 29th for city business. A motion is required.
Mr. Zine moves, and Mr. Weiss seconds. If there's no objection, those excuses are granted.
Councilmember Rosendahl requests to be excused Friday, August 4th for personal business. That meets council policy.
He is excused.
Councilmember Weiss requests to be excused August 1st and 2nd for personal business. That meets council policy.
He is excused as well.
Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Friday, August 4th for city business. A motion is required.
Mr. Weezer will move, and Ms. Hahn seconds. If there's no objection, that excuse will be granted.
And Councilmember Hahn requests to be excused October 10th, 11th, and 13th for city business. That meets council policy.
Okay. She's excused.
That clears the desk.
Any announcements, colleagues? Announcements? Mr. Labange?
Mick Jagger, 63 today. I just wanted to wish Mick Jagger, the head of the Rolling Stones, happy birthday from the Los Angeles City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Any other announcements, colleagues? Any adjourning motions today? Does anybody have adjourning motions?
We have no adjournment. If they have none, I'll wait till Friday if there's none.
Okay. If there are none for today, then Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Padilla, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Weston, Zine, Garcetti.
We will next meet July 28th in the City Council chambers. We invite members of the public down again. Thank you all. Remember to flex your power out there, and this meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. Thank you.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.